Hey guys, Sandy here. I am super excited to be scrapbooking with the Cocoa Vanilla Studio Unforgettable Collection. Now you can pick up this collection at Scrapbook Your Joy, which is an online scrapping store. I will have that link down below. I got to speak with the owner and she asked me if I would create a couple layouts, and I am super excited to share them with you. So let's see what I can do. Now this collection is kind of, I feel like it's a very romantical collection. Like you could go soft and beautiful and just all the lovey things, but unforgettable, that is a big word, okay? A lot of things can be unforgettable. And this photo of my son and I is one of those moments. So I had to work. And he was getting ready to leave. He had come home for leave, and now he was leaving us to go back out into the field. And when they report, they have to wear their uniform, and they have to be like, everything has to be perfect, everything has to be positioned just right. And I love seeing my son in his Marine uniform. I love seeing him in this one. I love seeing him in his dress blues. I just love seeing it. It makes me so proud, and sometimes I want to cry. And he was just preparing for when he was going to have to leave, and he waited until I was home, which was after midnight, so that he could see, or I could see him in his uniform. And that is a moment that is unforgettable to me. So I was just really excited that he waited up for me, especially because he had to get up at 4:30 in the morning with my husband to go to the airport. So that was just really a really special moment for me. So I have decided that I'm going to use the kind of aqua teal paper with the striped background, and that's going to be my backsground. However, I kind of felt like I needed something dark, something to just ground my layout. Look, that backside of that paper is gorgeous as well. So I needed something to ground it. So I decided to just grab a sheet of black cardstock from my stash and mat my layout on top of that. And now I feel like I can bring in the dark colors, and it's not going to be too heavy on the top of the layout. Sometimes when you bring in dark colors on something that is a light background, it almost feels heavy, and it almost feels like the top of your layout is going to fall off the bottom of your layout. And I don't like that feeling. So to combat that, I either mat my entire layout or some cardstock, or I go ahead and outline it just to contain it. So let's talk about what is going on here. Now, I was thinking about bringing in this tag just because I really like the colors of it, and I just tried it out there for a little bit, and it's not going to stay there. It is not going to stay there. I'm not exactly sure what I'm doing in this moment. Everything is so beautiful, and I literally don't know what I'm doing right now with my scrapbooking. I just want to touch all the things and look at all the things, and you know, I'm kind of confused. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do. I do know that I want this cut apart card, and I do know that this is my photo, but beyond that, I'm a little confused. I do think that I need to figure out something to cover up the join between that diagonal background and the florals. It just feels a little unfinished right there. So what I'm going to do is take this absolutely gorgeous wood grain, and I mean it is a gorgeous wood grain, and I just trimmed a little bit of it down, and I'm going to go ahead and create a border here between the striped background and the florals, and it just gives me a little finished look that I like a lot better than having the floral and the stripe next to each other. For some reason, the wood grain and the stripe next to each other looks fine to me. The wood grain and the floral next to each other looks fine to me, but the floral and the stripe just looked a little unfinished. Do you guys have patterns like that where you don't like it doesn't bother you. But then sometimes you might go, oh, what is going on here? Why isn't this working for me? It's just something in your own mind, in your own eye, that just doesn't look good to you. And I think that that is definitely a personal preference. This is definitely not a design thing. I'm sure it does have design elements to it, and that's what your brain is processing. But it's all about personal preference. And I think sometimes we get so caught up in what the design is supposed to be and what the design rules are that we just don't have fun with it. And sometimes when we're having fun with it, there's a little bit of a struggle, and this was a little bit of a struggle for me, just because I wasn't exactly sure what I was doing. I wanted to touch all the things. I wanted to put all the things on the layout, but I just needed to slow down and figure it out. And what I come up with, I adore. Like this one makes me happy, you guys. You know, I am a lover of layouts. Like if you create it, you love it, but this one holds a special place. So I do decide to pop up my photo and this cut apart sheet on some fun foam. And I did add a black border to that wood grain cut apart sheet, and that is just because I really didn't like the two wood grains on top of each other. And even though it's just a tiny little bit of space, one is gray, one is brown, they're going in different directions, and it just didn't look good to me. Like it looked funky. Now I have this die cut that says "A Moment in Time," and that makes a reappearance. That definitely makes a reappearance. Now I love this camera, and it was a little bit big for what I first had in mind. It's still going to stay down there. It's still going to be there, but we do change it up a little bit, just a little bit. Now, as you can see, I am just going through all of these beautiful die cuts, and I'm just trying to figure out, like, what the heck am I doing? I don't know. Like, I'm trying to figure out, do I want to go big florals on this layout? Do I want to go more neutral? Like, what exactly do I want to do with this? And then you guys know I love me a good nestling. So the way that floral die cut kind of nestles around that S in the word moments makes my heart little so happy. So we're gonna go ahead and figure we're gonna use some florals. Now I was thinking at first to put some tags here because that is a big kind of dip down from the top of the photo to the top of the little wooden cut apart that says, "We don't remember the days, we remember moments." And it's true. I had to look up the date for this because I didn't know what date it was. I knew that it was the night before Alex left, and I knew that he stayed up late to see me after I got home from work. So it was that moment. It was that moment of walking in the door and seeing him in his uniform, and he's like, "I waited for you, Mom." And seriously, that kid, he's a good one. Now I do go into the cut apart sheet one more time. I'm going to use this label, except I'm not going to use it as a label. I'm going to use it as a layering piece. And by the time I'm finished with my embellishment down here, you're not going to see a whole lot of it, but I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the little bits that you do see. And this is a lesson. Make sure you adhere, your stuff down pretty good. Otherwise, it pops off and falls apart. Now, I do normally add more adhesive after I am finished with a layout off of camera. So if you're thinking that I just have this teeny tiny little bit of adhesive holding together my layouts, that is not the case. I just am what I call a top-down scrapbooker. So I move things around an awful lot, even when it has adhesive on it. So I try not to use very, very much adhesive while I'm working the layout, because stuff gets moved around and everything, and I would rather have to add adhesive later to make it stick. So I pull off the camera off of the clear stickers, and I just mat it on some white cardstock. And this is not like any kind of quality cardstock. When I am doing things like this, where I'm just matting some stickers or mounting some stickers so that they aren't clear, I use there's this a cheap Nina cardstock that you can pick up at Target, and that's what I use for that. So there we go. Now I am going to add more of these flowers, and I specifically chose these kind of, I guess, 6-petal flowers because it kind of repeats the floral that is in that background. So my floral background, I wanted to make sure that I had similar flowers because this big kind of swoopy flower, I don't know what flowers these are supposed to be representing, but it's a swoopy flower. Those are not really in the background, so I wanted to make sure I had the petal flowers as well, just to make sure that there was some continuity in the flowers. Now I didn't really have to do that because there's continuity in the color, but this time it was important to me to have continuity in the flowers, and that is not something that I do every single time I'm playing with flowers on layouts. Sometimes I don't really care, but for this layout, it seemed to be important to me while I was making the layout. And I can't tell you the reason why it was important to me, because sometimes it isn't, but this time it just was. Now this poor little banner, I love this banner. I think it's gorgeous, has great color, and I just couldn't get it on my page. I tried and I tried and I tried, and it ultimately doesn't make it on the page. But I think it is a gorgeous piece, so it will definitely make it onto another layout. Now I had pulled that die cut and was thinking about trimming it, or not trimming it down, punching out the center so that I could use that frame to kind of span the gap between the photo and the cut apart quote. Now it was introducing another wood grain that was just slightly off from the other two, and I did not like that. It was not going to work for me. So I went back to the cut aparts, and I decided that this kind of framed cut apart would work. And at first I was thinking maybe I need to mat it because, you know, the colors match so perfectly between this paper and the floral paper, but ultimately I decided it doesn't really need it. So I've got it here, and now I have a great space for my journaling. I don't have to worry about journaling on top of any kind of pattern because now I have this white space right here where I can journal. Now I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I don't journal on every single layout. My scrapbooking has definitely changed over the years, so that instead of having one large, like 2-page spread with a lot of photos and a lot of words, my scrapbooking has changed so that I have multiple 1- and 2-page layouts for the same event. Or I could just have one layout, one photo for the same event. Just depends upon how I'm taking photos. And I say all that because we are told so many times, journal, journal, journal. Well, guess what? You can scrapbook a page and not journal on it. You can scrapbook a page that just has journaling on it. You can scrapbook all the different ways, okay? You can do it the way you want. Do your scrapbooking with however you get joy from it. And that is like my message, my biggest message is to do that. Scrapbook the way you want to. Because when you're trying to scrapbook the way other people do, or you're trying to scrapbook the way other people tell you to, sometimes that's not the joy, guys. That is not the joy. Sometimes it just screws you up and it makes it frustrating, and something that is supposed to be a fun hobby shouldn't be frustrating. It really shouldn't. So now I am pulling in that camera flare, and I pulled in the camera flare because I had the camera down at the bottom, so I was just going to go ahead and repeat that pattern. Now I am flipping through my die cuts, and I'm just trying to figure out where I want things to go, which florals I want in which place, and I'm trying to bring in a variety of the colors. So this color scheme has purple and pink and peach and the mint green. And I just really needed to make sure that my florals kind of encompassed all of the colors. Now, here's where I decide that I don't want the photo popped up on foam. So I pull the foam off the back of it, and I just go ahead and adhere my photo down with my regular adhesive, and that's going to do it. Now, I did that because I was struggling to make that camera flare badge kind of stay where it was supposed to be on my layout. I was popping it up too much so that it wouldn't like make my photo dent down, and it was just a struggle. There was just too much of a struggle with it. So the easiest solution is to take that fun foam off the photo. Now you can see my flare badge just is laying down beautifully on the layout. And now I am just going to go ahead and get those little floral bits tucked in where I think they look good. Now I am a nestler. When I can nestle things together, that brings me the most joy. So I look for the little angles on the die cuts and see where they can kind of fit together. It's almost like doing a puzzle where you're just trying to get your die cuts and your angles to kind of meld together. All right, what are we doing here? Okay, so I am also going to grab a little bit of fun foam, and I am going to add a little bit of dimension and lift to this cluster of florals right here. It's just going to have a little bit of lift up at the top, just so that the flowers aren't completely flat. And then when you're flipping through it in the scrapbook album, there's just that tiny little bit of dimension, and it just gives it just a little subtle bit of interest. So I'm just going to push that all down. And now I am going to wrap up the embellishing. So I'm thinking that, you know, that arrow is going to go up there. I'm going to bring in more bits of dark because I am planning on using those black foam stickers as a title. So there you saw I added a little bit more adhesive. So I'm looking at the words. There are all kinds of words to be able to use, and I decide to cut the long edge. This is how I store my 6x12 sticker packs like this. So whether it be foam stickers from Cocoa Vanilla, or whether it be Thickers or Simple Stories, or whatever company makes a 6x12 sticker pack, I cut it on the long edge and I store it in a fridge bin on the long edge like that, and it just sits in this bin, and I can easily reach over and grab it and flip through my little florals. Now I felt like this little area over here on my photo was a bit naked, and there was this big expanse of white and teal kind of stripes there, and I felt like white space is good, but if I could do a little bit of excitement right here, that would be better. So I built a little cluster. I put the larger floral behind it, and then I put the smaller florals on top of it, and I just repeat it, having kind of the gray greenery in this cluster as well. So I put that down. Now, if this little banner was facing the other direction, this would have been perfect up at the top. However, the arrow was facing off of the page, and I just could not put it on. I just couldn't. Like, it just wasn't working for me. So, like I said, that poor, beautiful banner is going to be saved for another layout. So I noticed that these stickers are on clear, which is fantastic because that means you can cut them apart and kind of position them on your layout before you actually figure out where you want them to go. So I'm just gonna say love you, and that little treasured banner that I made by popping on top of a label, that guy doesn't make it on this layout either. And I thought for sure that that guy was going to make it on there, but it didn't. However, when I put my title down, that's just simply Love You, I do have this little bit of trapped space and I need to figure out something to fill it in. So I just take a floral and a heart and I layer them up together, and that's just going to fill in kind of that trapped, basically like naked space. Like it feels weird. Sometimes trapped space doesn't bother me. Other times, like this one, I was just like, something needs to go there. I kept trying to use that poor little treasured thing, and look, I'm bringing in the banner again because I love it so much. And then eventually I just stop. Like, you just stop trying to put the things in that don't work. And it's just because I love it. Like, I love the supply, so I'm trying to use it. Now, at first, I thought that the treasured would be able to go up there on the top, but like I said, it's just not working. I even tried to bring it in, the color in with this darker gray arrow, and I was like, well, maybe we can do something like that. And I'm like, see, it would be perfect if it was that way, but it's not. I do leave that arrow on for 0.2 seconds before it goes back onto the sticker sheet. I just wasn't feeling it up there, you guys. It just felt weird. Now, I did think about bringing in a second flare badge and putting it down here to fill in that kind of trapped space. And I did that because, you know, it was a perfect size for it. I even thought about breaking in the butterfly. I thought about covering up the butterfly. It was just a whole big thing here. Ultimately, we just do the floral and the heart. So once that's done, it's done. Now, I really do like this flare badge that says Smile in the pink. I did toy with the idea of bringing in a second flare badge, but I decided against it. So for the enamel dots, I go for the dark gray, and I use 3 varying sizes in my clusters. I'm going to keep the enamel dots close to my floral clusters. The floral cluster on the bottom has kind of spread across to include the heart and flower that I put on last. So I'm going to put some of my enamel dots there as well. Now, I also tuck the enamel dots under some of the florals that are popped up, and that's just to give it a little bit of interest so you just don't have these big gray circles popped everywhere on your page. So I do some journaling, and it says, I love this kid so much. Even though I call him a kid, he has grown into a young man. I am super proud to call my Marine son. He wore his uniform for me, waiting for me to come home. And then I just put the date down, which was February 13th of this year. So yeah, scrapbooking this year. That's kind of crazy, huh? By no means am I caught up. So I am, you know, chronologically scrapbooking this year. But I am just about wrapped up with my 2018 albums. I've got 2019 off to a fantastic start. And here we go. So thanks so much for watching, guys. Make sure you check out the link down below to the Scrapbook Your Joy store. And I will see you again real soon for another video.